Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica Flynn and I am the owner and maker of Flynn Sisters Boutique. And today I'm going to show you how to do a pen wrap with water slide. I've been really into chinoiserie type patterns and things like that. I just really love that kind of like preppy classic style. So I'm going to show you how to measure, print, cut, and apply water slide for your epoxy and glitter pens, okay? I will then show you how to make a matching tumbler using a similar technique and the same pattern so you guys can make a matching pen and tumbler. That's enough chit chat for me. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we're going to start by prepping our pens. I'm using the Papermate Inkjoy gel pens. I've done a couple tutorials on these before, so I'll link those down below because we go a little more into detail on how to do these pens in those videos. But mainly we're just going to take off the little clip by turning it around. We're going to disassemble the pen, and then I like to use a sharp craft knife to just cut off that nubbin that's left over from the outer clip. And then I go over the pen with a rough sanding of 120 grit sanding block. It doesn't really matter the grit on your sanding block, to be honest. And then I'm just going to clean up the pen with some rubbing alcohol and a paper towel. And now we're ready to get started. I'm using the pen arm that I got from the Bowen. I did a review on this pen arm on my channel before. I will link that review down below in the description box. They might be sold out on these, but if you join their Facebook group, you can find great information on restocks and product availability. I'm using a flat white spray paint on these. And then as soon as these are dry, I'm going to put them on my turner to apply a thin coat of epoxy that I've already mixed with a little bit of bright glitter from Peachy Olive Glitters. This is an extra fine white glitter that's perfect for a project like this. And really per pen is going to be less than 10 milliliters each. So I mixed 30 milliliters to coat all three of these pens and I had plenty left over. All right, and I'm going to coat my cup in the same way, only this time I'm going to use Nookie glitter mixed into my epoxy instead of Brite. Nookie is just a larger cut white glitter, so the little pieces are a little bit bigger, and my thought process behind that was bigger item, bigger sparkle, smaller item, smaller sparkle. I don't know, I thought it would be a bigger impact on the cup if I used Nookie instead. Just remember, if you're using a larger cut glitter with this technique, you're going to want to use a little more epoxy when spreading it so that you can get even coverage and it won't look streaky. This is a 20-ounce skinny and I used every bit of 30 milliliters plus the glitter to coat this. I'm using Alumilite's Amazing Quick Coat Fast Setting Epoxy, so both my pens and my cups will be ready to move on to the next step in under 4 hours. Remember that your dry time may vary based on your epoxy brand and type. While my pens and my cups are drying, I'm going to show you how I created my own wraps. So I'm first going to go to Etsy and I'm going to pick out some digital papers. You want to search Etsy for digital scrapbook paper or digital background, or just digital paper, and you're going to come up with thousands of results. There are so many options. Obviously, if you wanted to do a more specific search like Valentine's digital paper, that'll narrow down your search time for you. But I get so much inspiration from these digital papers. I absolutely love them. Once you find your pattern, you're going to purchase it and save it to your computer. And I'm using Google Docs today, my favorite. We're going to go to File, Page Setup. And in the Page Setup screen, we want to make sure we're applying these settings to the whole document. We're going to select A4 for the paper size. And we're going to set all of our margins to 0. Once we've done that, we're going to click OK. And then we're going to go to Insert Image, Upload from the computer, and we're going to find our digital paper file. Once this comes onto your screen, it's going to look just like this. We're going to change the page break so that The margin is set to 0. All right, then we're going to rotate our pattern so that it's facing the right way when we wrap our cup. I've already measured the height and width around my cup after I've glittered and epoxied it. And I know that I need the length of my image to be at least 9.5 inches. So I'm gonna right click on my image, select image options, then in the size portion here, I'm gonna make that 9.5 inches for the width. The height isn't as important because I know this water slide width is a little over 8 inches, which is perfect for the size of my cup. Once this has been resized, I'm going to click on my image, make sure it's selected, and I'm gonna right click again and click copy. We'll deselect my image, right click somewhere away from my image and select paste. So basically we're gonna copy and paste the same image, okay? Then I'm gonna click the crop button and I'm gonna crop this image roughly to the size of a rectangle because I don't need all of it and I can't resize the whole thing without warping the pattern a little bit, all right? So I've cropped it into around the size of rectangle that I'll need to wrap my pen. I'll hit enter on my keyboard. Then we'll go back to image options and we're gonna resize this by unlocking the lock ratio. Just uncheck that blue box and we're gonna size this to 1.5 inches by 4.75 inches, okay? So again, we're gonna resize that rectangle that we made into 1.5 inches by 4.75 inches. And that's the size that we need for our pen wrap, okay? So here we have our cup wrap and our pen wrap on our screen here. Everything looks good. I'm gonna go to File, Print. In this print screen here, we wanna make sure we have the right paper size selected. Then I'm going to go to Print using System Dialog, and we're gonna click Preferences, Photo Printing. You wanna make sure that you have the right paper type selected. I like to use luster or semi-gloss. Change the paper size here as well. Print quality will be high. Then we'll click OK, apply, and print. My images have been printed. I'm going to seal them 4 to 5 times with Rust-Oleum clear gloss spray paint. You want to do more light coats than less heavy. Use a space heater to help dry between coats, and we want to use this immediately after it's dry. The longer your clear coat sits, the more brittle it'll become. So as soon as this is dry to the touch, we're ready to trim it and get it onto our cup. This design, I want to tape off the top and bottom of my cup because I want to leave some of the white glitter exposed on the top and bottom, which I will outline later with some vinyl. You'll see what I mean later on in the video. If you want to do a true full wrap, then you can absolutely skip this step. I'm using 3/4 inch masking tape to mask off the very top and the bottom. Get that line as straight as you can. And I've got some room temp water here and I'm just gonna go for it. We wanna get the whole paper almost fully submerged if you can. I'm just using an old glass Pyrex dish. And once our water slide freely moves off the transfer paper, we're ready to start. So I'm going to separate the water slide about 1/4 inch from the backing paper and anchor that down to our cup using a silicone brush to smooth everything out. You'll notice that I'm keeping my water slide attached to the paper backing and in the water for as long as possible. Then I'm going to make my way around the cup slowly but surely using that silicone brush to smooth everything out, brushing towards the side that has the paper backing still attached. If we try to brush in the opposite way, we can get wrinkles and have air bubbles trapped and whatnot. My cup is a little bit moist as well before I got started on this. I'm really taking my time here and pulling that backing paper away, probably about 1 inch at a time. And we're just gonna make our way all the way around the cup. You'll see here when I get to the end that I have about 1/4 inch overlap at my seam here, and that was intentional. With this type of pattern, you want to have a little bit of an overlap, like I think that's okay. It's really hard to get both ends of the water slide to match up perfectly, because as water slide dries, it's going to shrink and contract a little bit, which will make matching up your seam here at the end a little difficult. If you want to really try and absolutely match up your seam, you totally can, but I'm going to cover up my seam later on with some vinyl, so I'm not totally concerned about how that looks. I went around the whole cup a few times with my silicone brush, brushing towards the end with the seam here, making sure I got all the air bubbles and wrinkles out. While this is drying, I'm going to start on wrapping my pen. Before wrapping my pen, I'm going to trim off any excess epoxy with my craft knife at the top and the bottom of it. So I'm going to trim off the excess water slide, and then we will put it into our room temp water. Once the water slide fully lifts from the backing paper, which only takes a couple minutes, we're going to slide off just about 1/4 inch to one side of our water slide so that we can anchor that small section to our cup. And then once that small section is anchored and smoothed out, we'll continue on applying the remainder of the wrap to our pen, smoothing out with our fingers. I don't really use my silicone brush to smooth out the wrap on the pens. I just use my hands. The trickiest part to the pens is that there's a little bit of taper at one end where it, gets smaller. So you'll just want to kind of wrap that side a little bit tighter. There's no kind of like secret formula to that. I wouldn't like cut slits into it either to make it lay flat, because it will wrinkle or pucker up a little bit. Really, you just kind of have to pull that end a little bit tighter and have a bit of an overlap there. While my pen is drying, I'm going to take my craft knife back over to my cup and trim off this excess water slide that was against our tape here. And then of course we'll remove the tape. My water slide only takes about a half hour or so to dry, and then I'm ready to put a coat of epoxy on. I've got 30 milliliters of amazing quick coat fast setting epoxy already mixed, and that's plenty for both my pen and my cup. And this is going to dry for about 4 hours before I'm ready to move on to the next step. All right, and so now that my pen and my cup are dry, I'm just going to trim the excess epoxy from the ends of my pen and then reassemble it. And that's all I need to do for that. And for my cup, I want to frame out the edges of that water slide pattern with some vinyl. So I've already cut this hot pink vinyl at 11.5 inches wide by 0.20 inches tall in Cricut Design Space using the square shapes feature. And I'm going to frame out the top and bottom of my pattern and then trim the excess with my craft knife. And then I'll also run another line along that back seam where the two ends of our water slide meet, just to make that look a little cleaner. Again, trimming off the excess with my craft knife. All right, and then for my decal, I thought it would be cute to add just like a classic monogram. This monogram belongs to one of my Flynn Sisters exclusives members. I've already cut and weeded it, so now we're just going to layer the vinyl. And then once I've got that layered, I'm going to use the overhang of transfer tape to anchor it to my cup while I measure twice, so I only have to cut once. I like to measure the length from that back seam to either end of the decal up in front to make sure it's truly centered. And then I'll measure from top and bottom to make sure I have it centered down the front of my cup. Once I'm sure everything's nice and lined up, I'm going to apply my decal using the hinge method like I normally do. So we're going to lift up on one side and trim off the backing paper from that first half and press it firmly to our cup. Then we'll lift up on the other half and apply that second half. All right, and now I'm ready for my final coat of epoxy. Today I'm using Alumilite's Amazing Clear Cast Plus for my final coat, since it has the enhanced UV protection. Since this is a white colored cup, you definitely want to have that enhanced UV protection to keep it bright and white for a long time. So that's it for this tutorial. Pretty simple one. You guys could easily knock this project out in a couple days. I wish I had time to make this in multiple colors because I absolutely love this print and this set. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Obviously, you could use any kind of print you want to do this, and it's super simple to do the matching pen as well. So I hope you guys loved this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. And a big thank you to all of our Flynn Sisters exclusive members. Thank you for your pledge. Your support means the world to our channel. If you love this video, you could check out our last video here. Also be sure to find us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and of course subscribe for all our new videos that come out every Wednesday and Saturday. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.